What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Willie Barcena's Drop In, where we just chill. I have friends of mine, people that I admire, people that I like what they do, whether they're singers or whether they're artists, actors, police officers, politicians. You know, if I find them interested, I hope you find them interesting. I'm excited about today because we have a gentleman that I mean his Netflix documentary, which I believe is called the Night Stalker. It went crazy. I mean this thing went viral, and I'm sure by now everybody's seen it. And if you haven't seen the documentary on Netflix called Night Stalker, if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you, if you do like those crime story type of documentaries, this is probably, and of all the ones I've ever seen, it's in the top 3. And the gentleman that's with me on today's episode is one of the lead detectives that was chasing the Night Stalker. And I'm honored to have him here, Mr. Gil Carillo, man. Thank you for being here, bro.
Thank you. It's thank you for the invitation. I love your comedy. I pay good money to go see you, and now just to be invited to be down here and be part of this, it's makes me feel good.
No, thank you, brother. So I appreciate you as well. And I've always been a believer in what you guys do, man. The thin blue line, because I've always said is what keeps the only thing between the civilians and the crazies and some animals, you want to call them humans, there's some people that are just animals out there, is you guys. And I've always been a big supporter. You know, I had a kid here a couple of weeks ago, and he was anti-police, and I kind of had a debate with him about it. And I feel, you know, I felt I got my point across, because without you guys, you know, we have anarchy, and with anarchy, you have it's over. You know, you don't have a society anymore. So that's where I stand with that, man. And the guy, even though we agreed to disagree, he's a friend. But when I watched the documentary, in the beginning, they talk a little bit about you and before you became a detective, but they talked about you. Okay, when you were in Vietnam, you saw combat.
Oh yes, yeah, very serious combat.
Okay, you said you were crew. You said crew chief, right?
I was a crew chief.
Okay, what does that mean, a crew chief?
That means just like a cop signs for his gun right here. When you become a cop, you sign for your gun. Yeah. I signed for a helicopter. That was my helicopter. When it's up in the air,
What do you mean by yours? Is you're in charge of the men
I'm just in charge of the helicopter. So if it's down on the ground for maintenance, I'm down on the ground for maintenance. Okay. If it's up in the air, I'm up in the air with it.
Oh, wow.
If it's major maintenance, well, then we give it to the people in the maintenance crew. But other than that, I do all the maintenance. I refuel, make sure the guns are all operable, everything's going, and you have a pilot and a co-pilot, and then I have a gunner on the one side of the aircraft, and then I'm on the other side of the aircraft.
With a gun?
With a gun. Both of us are using M60 machine guns. The difference being on what we call slicks. These are the helicopters that go in and resupply. They insert troops into the ground. They extract. We medevac. We give them everything they need. And those we have fixed post M60s. They're on a post, and we're sitting on the side of the transmission, and we're doing this, but it's on a fixed post. I did that for 7 months, and then I got tired of it, and I went to gunships. And gunships, you have now...
What's a gunship?
A gunship is another Huey helicopter, but you're not landing, you're not inserting, you're not extracting. All you're doing is giving support to the helicopters that are going down there, that are getting shot at, or sometimes you just have search and destroy missions where you're going out. You have M60 machine guns, you have miniguns that are putting out 4,000 rounds a minute, and you have rocket pods that are putting out rockets.
Listen, for me, it's something that I've only seen on television, man. And watching a movie like Platoon, my nerves are there, and I'm just watching the movie with popcorn, But you were actually there. Like when you watch those movies about the helicopters, you can hear the bullets hitting the helicopter, right?
Yeah,
the helicopter and like bing, bing. Did you experience that?
You can hear it.
When did they ever go in the helicopter?
Yeah, they didn't bounce around. They just go. The helicopter, the skin on the outside, really very thin, so it just goes right through the helicopter. Holes all over the place. You can land. The birds are tough.
Did you guys ever take a hit and land when it was like
I had to land one time. I had to land one time. That's only because a round hit the fuel cell, and we were dumping fuel, not enough to get back. So we set it down, and they picked us up, took our guns out, and got away.
Okay, when you guys were on a mission, right? Let's see on the when you were crew chief, and they send you on a mission.
Yes.
You know when you're going to be in enemy territory, right? Like,
well,
how often do you go to like?
Okay, for the 4 months, twice when I was on Slicks, we flew these what they called FOB missions, Forward Observation Bureau was what it stood for, and back then everything was top secret. So we'd go, we'd land at a landing zone just up in the mountains, up in Dak To, which was right on the Cambodian and Laotian border. And we'd sit there and we'd wait for instructions. Those were the only missions for 2 months at a time. They would tell you, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Because if you go, and if you got shot down over there, then they had 24 hours to pull your dead body or live body out of where you got shot down at, and then they'd B-52 it. They'd, what we call arc light it. They just B-52 the whole area because they couldn't.
That's where it looked like they carpet bomb, right?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, and they didn't want you caught over there because we weren't supposed to be over there at the time. Okay. Everything was top secret. We weren't supposed to be across the border like that.
But you're saying they're asking you, they're giving you an option.
Option.
Right? So you could have said easily, no, I'm gonna pass on this one.
Yes.
But it seems like none of the guys did, right?
None of the guys did. Everybody went. Wow. So you'd go, you'd sit down, and you never knew where you were going. You just go and sit down in the same place, and they'd say, okay, let's scramble, let's go. You get up in the air, and you go, and they'd brief you in the air where we're going. Not before, but in the air. This is what we got. This is what we got to do. Our mission is to extract 4 people. And it's heavy. It's heavy. Across the border, it was heavy gunfire. It was. There were battalions of North Vietnamese soldiers over there, and they're all trying to shoot the nice big green helicopters down.
When I've seen Vietnam and other World War II vets interviewed, and they always ask him like, "Hey man, how did you feel? You were in combat, you were in battle." What I've heard more than once and a few times from guys like, yeah, people think that oh yeah, I'm fighting for my country or fighting for that, but they say when you're there, you don't even think about that. You're just fighting for the guy to the left, and the guy to the right.
Exactly, that's all you're fighting for. I remember because I've done a lot of television stand-ups, at my homicide scenes as a working cop. And one time I got a phone call that one of my pilots through the department gave his number, gave his name, wanted me to call him up. I called him up, and I was all excited. Right. It was Mr. Johnson, Larry Johnson. And Larry Johnson was a straight guy, didn't mess around much. And he was in there. We went into a hot LZ. And I ended up getting medals for it. It was hot. We're down. We're hovering down. People are shooting at us. It's like something you're watching on TV, like combat. The guys are supposed to pick up. They're jumping up and throwing hand grenades, and they're jumping up and, shooting back. And we're going down. We had 100-foot ropes hanging down. They had to get into the ropes, and then we'd have to pull back up and then get them out of there. And as we're hovering down, I'm laying on my belly, literally on there. And I've got an M16. I'm not using my M60 right now. I'm using an M16, and I'm trying to shoot. And I've got to look at the tail rotor to make sure that we're not hitting trees. I got to look at the main rotor, make sure we're not hitting trees, and just guide him. His job, the pilot's job, is just to hold control and fly that thing steady. And we're going down. I said, keep on coming down. Take it slow, take it slow. And he called me up, and he says, I got to ask you something. This is Mr. Johnson. He called me. He said, I got to ask you something. Were you ever afraid? And I said, yes, I was afraid, Mr. Johnson. He says, because all I remember you doing was laughing all the time. And I said, I was too stupid not to laugh. You know, I was laughing.
Was he laughing during this incident?
I was laughing, yeah.
Oh, you?
And because I can remember you saying, he's flying. All he kept saying was, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I said, it's okay, brother. Hang in there. Hang in there. We're just playing softball. They're throwing big balls at us. Don't worry about it. We got this. You just keep control of that. And he's going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And, you know, I could hear rounds hitting the helicopter. But we were able to get up and get out. Matter of fact, our mission was on that day, pick up 4 guys. We had 4 ropes out. Okay. And it was a 5-man team. It was 4 indigenous that Montagnard, they were South Vietnamese soldiers that worked with the Green Beret, and 1 Green Beret guy. So it's 4 and 1. We already got word he was missing one of his indigenous personnel, so it'd just be 3 indigenous and him. Well, he got on the rope, and he strapped himself in the harness, and he's about to give me the thumbs up when here comes his lost soldier. He comes running up. This guy takes off his belt, gives it to his Vietnamese soldier, and then gives it the thumbs up. So I'm taking up 4 South Vietnamese soldiers, and he stood down there, gave up his rope. He stood down there, and he fought. He ended up getting killed, and he got the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Gee,
and I was the
when
last
you're telling
American.
me that, I go back to the scene from Platoon where Willem Dafoe is left behind.
Yeah, we couldn't.
Right? Wow, man.
we couldn't do it, and another slick
and
went right behind.
Okay, so you know this friend of yours. Obviously, you guys are friends because you know you're in these battles together. Not only are you you know on the same branch, but you guys become brothers. When he got shot, do you guys? Because obviously you got to go because if you guys stay there, you guys can get hit.
We pulled up, drug these 4 guys up out of the tree line, and then we took off and we go land in the safe zone. Another helicopter came in and got the guy's name was I want to say it was Kettenberg, the American. They brought his body out, but he was dead. And
but they'll fight to get the dead body.
Oh yeah. We wouldn't leave them behind. You know, they went in there. They had, like I said, they had 24 hours to find a live body or dead body, or they carpet bombing, as you say.
And okay, another thing, man, and like I said, for me, I'm a pussy compared. My life's been a big pussy compared to what you've lived, man. You know, when you would see how many terms? What do they call it, terms? Or when you're there, you know, or when you're there for X amount of time.
1 year.
Or you did 1 year?
Yeah, 1 year.
Don't some guys like, I'll come back for 1 more year because they
do. I volunteered. I signed a paper. I waived time. They sent me to when I got out of Vietnam, they sent me to Georgia. I flat out hated Georgia. I don't care how many people hate me. I hated Georgia.
You didn't like the
because
South?
In 1969 it was still segregated.
Yeah.
That's not the way I was raised over here. So if you go off base,
Gil, it still is.
No, they had signs over there, whites only, coloreds only, and I'm looking. Well, where do I go? You know, it was terrible. The cops over there, everything it sucked.
Yeah.
And I got in trouble because I didn't salute some second lieutenant that was walking by me. And he's an officer, and you're supposed to salute all officers.
Right.
And I said, you know what? This is bullshit. Just send me back to Vietnam. I'd rather be back there fighting than over here put up with this stateside bullshit. So the Army, they screwed up. Mm-hmm. And instead of sending me to Vietnam, where I signed to send me back for another year. You could only go back for a year at a time. Send me back for another year. I didn't have a year left in the Army, but they would extend my term because I'm waiving it.
Okay.
Send me back to Vietnam. And the Army screwed up, and they sent me. I was an E5 on flight status, and they sent me orders as a private E2 light wheeled vehicle mechanic and sent me to Germany. And my company commander, who was trying to get me to re-enlist, at that time for $10,000, they call it a variable re-enlistment bonus. If I signed a paper, they would give me $10,000. Back in 1969, that's a lot of money for a kid.
Right.
And I said, I'll tell you what, you don't stop these orders, and I'll consider it when I get to Germany. But if you stop them, all bets are off. I ain't going to stay around here. And he said, I'll do you this. I won't lie for you. I won't tell them they've made a mistake, but if they contact me, I will not lie for you. I said, deal. He says, just take your flight status orders and take your rank orders with you. So when I got to Germany and they called out Private E2 Carrillo, I said, hey, that's me, but I ain't no private. You know, I'm an E5 and I know what light wheel vehicle mechanic. I'm on flight status. And so immediately they sent me to a place called right outside of Würzburg, Kitzingen, Germany. It was headquarters for the 3rd Infantry Division. That's where Audie Murphy used to be.
So,
the hero.
So how long were you there? In
6
Germany?
months.
Okay.
They said I gave me a general's helicopter, and because I had experience and.
But that was more. You were more. That was relaxing, right?
Germany was awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave.
Hey, did you see in these things, like I tell you, I only see from movies, Gil. When you were, let's say you seen combat, you kind of a veteran type of guy, and your skin's thick now. You have thick skin from what you've seen. Did you see the new guys coming in? Could you see the new recruits coming in? Like
no, I really didn't. By the time I went to gunships, you didn't get new guys into guns. You got experienced guys that had been flying for a while. So these were all experienced, and gunnies were different than the regular slick flyers. Matter of fact, one gunny, that guy's name was Dan Drury. God bless you if you're still alive, Dan.
The gunnies have a different personality?
Oh yeah, we're killers. Trained killer. That's all we do. We're trained killers. That's what their mindset was. Dan Drury, who was 6'7", he was a pig farmer from Missouri, and the judge gave him a choice: go into the Army or go to jail. So he went into the Army, and he became. And now he's a crew chief.
Okay.
He's either crew chief or gunner. I don't know because I never flew with him.
When you said crew chief, I don't know why I was thinking, man, he cooked over there.
No,
you know what I mean? Crew chief. Because that's what I've heard. I've heard that term in restaurants. Oh, I'm a crew chief. So I was going, man, I gotta ask him. What kind of crew chief was
he?
Okay, let me ask you something, brother. And I'm sure you did. How did you deal with it with the PTSD, man? How did you?
I never knew. I never knew about it. PTSD. I remember.
Oh, you think that was do you think it exists, or you think some people embellish it in their mind?
Well, I had no idea. I'd never thought about it because, a real good friend of mine said, Gil, you ought to file with the VA. You got to have some PTSD. I said, you know what? And my wife kept pushing me because that means money.
Yeah.
And I said, that's real good. I'm going to go over there and tell them I'm fucking nuts because I got this PTSD, but yet I can carry a gun and work as a cop. Right. It doesn't work, and right. I never put in for it. When I got out, as a result of the
funny how you said I got the PTSD, like he kind of flew. I got
a guy approached me. He had seen the documentary. He worked for the VA. He'd run me. He says, "Hey, they owe you some stuff."
Right.
So I finally followed the VA.
Okay.
Just recently, last year.
Wow.
And they sent me to all kinds of doctors to check me out physically. And the bottom line was, he said, people think PTSD is a guy sitting, with a drool cup in front of him. He's crazy. He's homeless. He's out there.
Right.
He says, no, that's not it at all. He said, and I talked to him about what I think about, and I can still relive, that extraction. I can still relive some of the stuff in my head. I have dreams or nightmares sometimes where I'm shooting my gun, where I'm up against somebody right there, and the bullet just goes plink, plink, and and I said I have a recurring dream. For years, I had this recurring dream. I had to have it a long time, where I'm stealing a helicopter because I love flying.
Okay.
I said I'd go to an airport and I'm stealing a helicopter, and I'm just afraid of getting caught. But once I'm up in the air, hey, this is good. I love it. So next thing I know. They said you got PTSD. That's part of PTSD.
So is the Army, the VA, take care of you?
They're taking real good care of me.
I love that. I love to hear. I love to hear that because I have another a buddy that's a Purple Heart winner from Vietnam. Mijo, you know him, Babo. Yeah, and he's told me some good stories about how he's been taken care of now. but now it took them for years.
Yeah, I guess the VA was terrible back then.
Yeah.
The more modern way, I guess one of the presidents said, "This is bullshit. You know, you can't do this. You got to." So they straightened it up, and now the VA is. I went to the VA a long time ago, back in '81, because I was diabetic, and diabetes, it's a direct result of Agent Orange.
Okay.
At Agent Orange, Agent Orange is a chemical that they used to kill the rice fields with, and they put like big bladders inside my slick helicopter, and sprayers alongside, and we go find rice fields and spray them, kill the rice field, because that rice was used to feed the NVA.
And, I mean, their army.
Yeah. So, but they found out that Agent Orange has caused an awful lot of problems physically. Well, I've only got one kidney. They, because I had cancer in my kidney, they attributed my kidney to Agent Orange. There's a lot of things that Agent Orange does, and diabetes, they connected it directly to Agent Orange. And so I've got a hearing loss.
And you got that?
Yeah, and so they pick everything up, and pretty soon that percentage rate goes from here, it goes all the way. And according to the VA.
But it's good. It's good. Extra money coming in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So, man, when I saw the documentary, one of the things that you talked about was I had 3 goals, right?
Three goals.
One was to get your girl back.
One was to get my girl back.
Right, because you left and
she wrote me a Dear John when I was in Vietnam.
You got the letter when you were
in Vietnam.
In Vietnam,
yeah.
You got the goodbye letter?
Oh, goodbye letter when I was in Vietnam. You ain't here. I'm sorry. I can't wait. Toma. That was it.
So you were shooting motherfuckers with anger up. Fucking
man.
bitch.
Yeah. Man, you're over there. There's nobody to cry to. And, hey, this is it. How could you?
Yeah. So, So you got your lady back.
Yeah.
You got your lady back. You guys been together forever. And you've told me some beautiful things about her. Just if she sees this, man, and beautiful things about Mrs. Carillo. And by the way, the party, you invited me. He invited me to a party, so I just want to make sure we get it on film. I don't want to get uninvited.
One of my goals was to hook back up with her, get her eating out of the palm of my hand. I want to break it off. I got out in June of 70, September of 70, I had her eating out of the palm of my hand. The day after Christmas 1970, we got married. And this year will be 53 years we've been together.
Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you something. For a guy that was with someone for 25 years, 53 years, man, you deserve another star.
That's 102 dog years, brother.
Hey, man, listen, I'm sure it's not easy for her either, man. I mean, just relationships are tough. I'll leave it at that. But so your second goal was, you went to you started off at a junior at Rio Hondo, right?
Rio Hondo, yes.
So you went 2 years, then you went to Cal State LA?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was your second goal.
My second goal was to go to college. Nobody in my family, no cousin, nobody had ever gone to college. I wanted to go to college. I thought at that time only rich white people went to college.
But you're a big dude, man. Did you ever think about playing football?
I sure did.
Did you?
I sure did. I had even talked to the coach up there about playing ball.
And what did he say?
And he said, "Come on out." My dad is the one that told me. He says, "Son, you're not going to be a professional football player. Get a job. Get a job."
That sounds like every Mexican relative.
And so my dad finally told me the last thing he says, "Go to Ford Motor Company." A friend told me, "Go to Ford Motor Company." He says they're hiring. If they hire you, fine. If they don't, go play football. Well, they hired me.
Okay.
And so I never went.
Never went tried out for the team.
Never.
So you went to 2 years to Rio Hondo.
Yes.
Transferred to Cal State LA, right?
Yes.
Did you finish, or did they recruit you out of Cal State LA, the Sheriffs?
Oh no, I was still going to Rio Hondo when I joined the Sheriff's Department.
When they picked you up.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you a beat cop? What do they call them, right? Is that?
I was a street cop. I got to East LA Station in 1974, and I left East LA Station.
What part of East LA do the sheriffs cover, man? Because I know East LA.
You know where Atlantic and 3rd Street are, Atlantic and Beverly?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the station is 501 5019 East 3rd Street. Beverly turns into 3rd Street at the Dog Leg right there.
Okay, so
and
you
it's right
guys
there
are
in front of the lake.
So it's a triangle there because then you got Montebello. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to share some dates with you. I'm going to be out and about doing some stand-up. Okay, January 12th, Friday, I'm going to be in El Monte, California at the Post. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. The next day, on the 13th, I'm going to be at the Catalina Jazz Club in Hollywood, California. 2 shows. 8 o'clock shows already sold out. And then we have a 10 o'clock show. Still some tickets available. January 20th, I'm going to be in Portland. All right? I'm going to be at the Aladdin Theater. 8 o'clock show. January 20th. Portland. Looking forward to seeing all my Portland people. All right? Mad love. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy this podcast. LAPD and sheriffs, right? Aren't
Yeah,
kind of
we had everything. We had everything from Indiana.
Because I got arrested by everybody. So that's all I know, bro. I can tell you where they're all at.
We had sheriff's jurisdiction on the west side was Indiana Street, and it went all the way up to the 10 freeway. We even had north of the 10 freeway, and then Montebello, they picked us up around Concourse, which is just east of Garfield.
Okay.
And it dog-legged around there. And then our jurisdictional went all the way down to the City of Commerce, and north would be Monterey Park.
Right. How long did you were you? Okay. Let's see if I remember. 9 or 15 years before you were on the street, and then you were
9.5 years.
Okay, I knew it was one of them. I was trying to. Yeah, so and I mean, it was kind of early, right?
That was unheard of.
To move from that to homicide, right?
Yes.
Like, don't you work your way up and work all these other details like robbery and vice, and then
exactly.
So how
it takes 15 years minimally to get to sheriff's homicide. What I had done was I was asked to work gangs, and I had worked. Because of my upbringing, I understood gangs.
Right. Yeah.
Then they asked me to start the first plainclothes gang unit at East LA. As this went on, in 1980, 81, they were starting a gang homicide unit, a specialty of homicides. And so that's when they called
a gang unit?
Yes.
Like, was that comparison to what LAPD did with Crash?
It was, we had OSS, Operation Safe Streets. That was just like Crash.
Okay.
We have in the Sheriff's Department, we have one centralized homicide bureau. LAPD has homicide cops at every station, and then they have one small unit, robbery homicide downtown, that takes like the O.J. Simpson cases and stuff like that. Our homicide bureau had 6 homicide teams. All they did was dedicate one team. Team 6, you were going to now do nothing but gang homicide investigations. And so they got every Mexican they could out of the regular side. And then they called me up and said, hey, you want to come up here? Because I had gang expertise, plus I could speak the lingo.
Right.
So they took me up there. And I really thought that I was going to be shit on, because I hadn't paid my dues like everybody else.
Yeah.
And the first thing, a guy, Louis Danoff, got me down, sat down. He says, hey, kid, you're new to the Bureau, but we have a vested interest in you. You are now part of Sheriff's Homicide Bureau.
Wow,
you will not fuck up. We're all here to help you. If you try doing something because you think you're that good, you do it on your own, you screw it up, we'll roll your ass up. We're all here together as a team. You represent Sheriff's Homicide. You got to be good. And so set me straight. I was there. I loved it. I wanted to be there. That was my dream job.
Which kind of, I have cop buddies, and they always call it varsity.
Yeah.
That's the varsity.
That was creme for our department. That was creme de la creme, and it was it. I loved it, and I spent 21 years as an investigator doing it. I didn't want to transfer. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to promote it. Didn't want to do anything.
Let me ask you. And okay, I know now I'm gonna talk about the Night Stalker case,
Sure.
man. So now you're there. How many years were you working homicide before that you got the call to
4 years.
Go find this guy?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
I got there March of 23rd of 1981. I got the first Night Stalker case March 17th of 85.
Okay, you get the call. you get a murder. You know, I know you get the victims, and was it? How long did it take you to realize this is one guy, man? Was it the footprints? Was it because I know when I saw the documentary, they kept going to the tennis shoes, right? So was it that for you that made like, hey, this is one fucking guy?
It wasn't one particular thing.
Okay.
The shoe print, certainly very important. That showed up the first time on March the 29th. I had the first murder on March 17th. The shoe print showed up on March 29th, and I can tell you, once we put two guys, hey, find the nature of that shoe print, I can tell you without equivocation that on January 9, 1985, 1,356 pair Model 440 Avias arrived in New York from Taiwan, of which 6 pair ended up in the state of California, 1 pair ended up in LA. So that's an important piece of evidence.
Right.
When that starts showing up at different places, you better start looking. You look at physical descriptions. We had a surviving victim on March the 17th, and former Maria Hernandez, and she gave us a physical description.
Right.
Then you look at some of the kid descriptions of what they've got, and you find a footprint, and they're saying same thing that Maria said: tall, thin, light-skinned, Hispanic or Caucasian, disheveled hair, stained gap teeth, members-only type dark clothing, and disheveled hair. Looked like the same guy. And the things he was doing, and I owe everything, that knowledge that I gained from it, from one of my professors at Cal State LA. I took 2 semesters of advanced criminal investigation pertaining to sex crimes by a retired FBI agent, and he gave me all the knowledge to work the case.
So, well, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen the documentary, man, I've seen it 3 times, brother. Because it moves so fast, because you dwell on something, and as you're dwelling on a story, you're missing 2 stories that are passing you by. So for me, I every time I watched it, I saw some new things that I had missed on the past ones. But did you, once you realize it's a serial killer, right? Once you realize that, did it goes into profiling, right? Don't you guys profile what you guys think a nut would be?
Well, unfortunately for us and for them, whoever it is, we had a meeting in Monterey Park Police Department between LAPD, Montebello, Monterey Park, and
Is this private? This is without the media knowing, right?
This is without the media. We had a meeting in the mines over the child abductions that had gone on.
Right.
And I showed up at their meeting. I wasn't invited. I just showed up. And so I went. And the purpose of that meeting was everybody talk about their particular case, their abduction, and then give all their investigative reports to a gentleman that was representing the FBI there at the meeting.
Okay.
He would then get those reports and send them off to Quantico, Virginia, to the Behavioral Science Unit for criminal profiling.
Right.
Well, everybody talked about their case, and they said, okay, Gil, what do you got? And I told them what I had, and I was connecting 3 of the child abductions to 2 murders, 2 or 3 murders at the time.
You putting them together?
Yes.
But they weren't.
Well, it was in theory, because there was no physical evidence other than the shoe print, but the shoe prints were at the kids, not at the adults yet. Well, they were there at Zazar's case, but no time in criminal history, even to this date, has anybody ever done what Richard was doing.
Right.
And so they said, oh, okay, well, that's a great theory. And they took my paperwork and they went. What they never did, and we didn't find out this until July, the representative of the FBI agency here in L.A. got all the paperwork and he sent it back for criminal profiling at Quantico, but he never sent my paperwork because he thought I was full of hot air. He didn't believe.
So he took everybody's except yours?
Except mine.
How did you find this info?
Well, we found out because my captain finally called Quantico and said, hey, you guys promised this big ordeal, you'll help us out, and you did it. Nobody's ever contacted us. And they said, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, my guy went to a meeting and sent the paperwork over there. Right. That's when we found out the agent down here never sent the paperwork to Quantico. So 2 days later, we had 4 agents from the FBI Quantico, Virginia out here to help us out. Trying criminal profile. And when they one of the agents pulled me aside and said, "Hey, this is gonna be a crapshoot. We have nobody in criminal history that has ever done what you're alleging."
Oh, man.
And everything that I alleged ended up coming out to be true.
And isn't that like? Doesn't that happen a lot with homicide detectives or just detectives, man? Where it's the hair stands up back of their neck, and they might not have proof, but there's an energy they're picking up. Is that what you feel happened?
Well, I don't know. You're always looking for some kind of proof, some kind of. This was so unique, and only because, as an example, he pulled a gun on Maria Hernandez,
right?
And Bob Morneau, this professor, would sit there and say his main purpose was not to shoot her, but it was to see the fear in her eyes.
Okay.
That was foreplay to him. He loved seeing women scared. So he put the gun in front of her, and she put up her hands and said, just went like this, didn't say anything. And she had already hit the button on the garage door. So the garage door has 8 seconds. It's closed, and it's pitch black. It went pitch black. He fired. The bullet hit the keys, never exited her hand, knocked her to the ground.
Okay.
And Richard will tell me, he says, I thought I was dead. I thought I was in hell. My ears were ringing. It was dark. He said, so I grabbed the doorknob. She had already keyed the door open. He just pushed her body out of the way and went inside. She's not dead. She gets up. She hits the garage door opener, and she goes out the garage door. She goes around the front of the condo. He comes out the front door. She thought he'd go out the back way, comes out the front door, and they're playing cat and mouse around a Volkswagen. She finally just puts up her hand and said, hey, you already shot me once. Don't shoot me again. She's not showing any signs of fear. She's, kind of like disgust. He put the gun back by his side, turned around and walked away. Didn't run, walked away. 40 minutes later, he pulls Silent Yu out of a car, and she's screaming at him, and he pulls her out and shoots her twice in the abdomen. And she put up resistance. He could have shot her in the car. He didn't. When he shot Dale Okazaki in the house with Maria Hernandez, he had already hit her in the back of the head. And then she put her hands on a countertop, because it got quiet. So now she's going to look to see where he's at. She pulls her head up, and he's right on the opposite side waiting to see her face pop up before he pops her. And so these were things that I could see from Morneau's teaching, but the other guys in the Bureau and the rest of the guys just thought, no, he's full of shit.
Right.
And so I could see things that they couldn't.
When the final moment comes where you guys, the guy gets caught, I believe it was East LA, right?
Yeah.
And he got worked over a little bit, right? The people didn't
work him over.
No?
No. He got on a bus. He saw his picture in the. First off, we had cops all around the Greyhound bus depot then, but they're waiting for him to come in the public side. What we didn't know was
he was coming in.
He was coming in. So he came in on a bus. He started to walk in where the passengers go, and he looked around. He knew too many people. So he walked out, and he made it down, went to a liquor store and saw his picture on the front page. He then gets on then it was RTD.
Yeah.
He had a brother that lived 8 miles east of downtown L.A.
Right.
So he gets on the bus. It's coming down Olympic. If he gets to Olympic and Brannick, that's where his brother lives.
Right.
Olympic and Soto, a passenger recognizes him. Hits that, and pull the bus. He gets out of the bus. Richard sees him go to the phone booth that was right there, calling cops, 911.
All right.
The bus takes off. Richard flags down a guy from the gas company. Tells him, follow that man. The suspect's on that bus. It goes down. That was at Olympic and Soto. He goes down to Olympic and Lorena. Gets off at Olympic and Lorena, and he starts running. And he's running through yards, over fences, through backyards, over here, across, over the 10-foot sound wall of the 5 freeway, runs across all lanes of the 5 freeway, gets to the north side of the 5 freeway, starts running through yards over there, and gets to Indiana. He crosses Indiana. Now, all this is LAPD's area.
Okay.
And now people from the houses in LAPD are calling 911. Hey, somebody just ran through my yard. Somebody ran. So LAPD's looking for him. They're chasing him, trying to find his path.
Right.
He ends up He's tired. He's run about 2 miles, jumped all these fences. The guy's tired.
Right.
He goes to carjack this lady. The husband sees him. He grabs a pipa because he's a good Mexican.
Right.
And gives him
Smack.
a coscoron.
Yeah.
He hits him on the head a couple of times. The neighbors hear her screaming, see him fighting. They go then. They're going to jump. He turns and starts running. He gets about 3 houses, and then that's it. He gives up. He just goes down to the ground. They encircle him. They don't beat him.
That's why. Is that something that was it's a myth or what?
That I don't know where it started from. You know, the first movie they put out on the Night Stalker, it shows the people beating them.
Yeah, like
but that's
piñata.
their literary license.
Okay.
You know, but they really didn't do much to him. The first cop that got there was Andy Ramirez, and he was a rookie. He didn't know who he was. Called paramedics. They put a turban on his head, wrapped him up, and then here come the blue meanies.
Right.
And the guy just said, "Yep, that's the guy we're chasing." They took him out of our car, put him in their car, and drove him to Hollenbeck. Didn't even give him a chance to take off his own handcuffs there.
Okay.
And normally that's what you do. You're giving him to another agency or another car. Take my handcuffs off, put yours on. Just took him out, put him in the car, and took off.
And when you heard all this and they caught the guy, where were you when you got the news that hey, they got him?
I was out on the streets already.
Were you searching for him at the time?
No, I had got home. I had been searching for him until about 3:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And I went home, grabbed some sleep. By 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm back out on the street, and they let me know, hey, he's in custody at East LA Station. I'd stopped by Industry Station, and I said, got to roll. And I rolled down there. I came down to East LA Station, and they said, well, he's not here. He's at Hollenbeck. And I said, okay. So I went to Hollenbeck, and when I got there, hats off to the lieutenant there. And he just said, Gill, he's all yours. He's in that room. You guys call the shots. It's your case. And so I said, first off, it was the second floor of Hollenbeck, the old Hollenbeck station. And let's just clear everybody out. There must have been at least 50 cops in there. And it was like a party atmosphere. They got the guy there.
Well, he disrupted this state.
So they're all happy. So I just told them, first thing, get everybody out of here.
Okay.
This isn't a party. And then we had somebody from our Leighton Prince come in and make sure he was the right guy.
Right.
And then we went in there and took him on. And people say, were you nervous because he was into Satanism? Do you knew that? And, were you scared? And, it's kind of like being a quarterback. Quarterback, he goes out after practice and drinks with his buddies on the team. He goes home. He's a dad. He's a friend. He's just a regular guy.
Yeah.
But Sunday morning, he puts that helmet on, and everything else is forgotten. It's game time. Well, I knew on the other side of that door, it's game time. I knew what my job was. I knew what I had to do. I didn't care who he was. So that was my mindset.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, it's a big moment, man. You got this fucking nut. Did you have a strategy? Were you gonna play chess? Was there something that you were gonna say to him that you were gonna manipulate that interview?
I manipulate every interview I go into.
Right.
And so, but
and how
this
so,
was
how
the
so,
first.
Gil?
We'll get into this. Is the first heavy interview that Frank and I did together. Oh. Frank was no doubt the senior man. He was the Italian style. He was creme de la creme. I wish I could be as organized as him, but he went in there. The first thing he did was he said, "Okay, Rich, before we even start, I got to read your constitutional rights." Right. And right out the gate, he gave him Miranda rights, and Richard just said, "I want an attorney." So he says, "Okay, all bets are off then. We're out of here. No need to waste our time." And we started leaving. He said, "Hey, wait. I have some questions. I'd like to ask some questions." And he said, "Well, you said you didn't want to talk." Well, I have some questions.
And you both are in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he says, "Yeah, I'd like to talk." And there were two. There was Leroy Orozco and Paul Tippin from LAPD were in there with us.
So there's four.
There was four of us in there.
Okay.
And he says, "I got some questions." All right, go ahead, ask your questions. So we started talking. I started talking to him, and he talked in the third person. So he'd say, "The Night Stalker may have done this. The Night Stalker may have done," but he wasn't admitted to being the Night Stalker. You know, that's the way we talked. And when you said, I play with their, you know, I manipulate them.
Okay.
What I do is when I'm talking to somebody, I ask control questions. Questions that I know they're going to give me, that I'll get legitimate answers. Okay, what's your name?
Right.
How long you been here? How old are you? What's your date of birth? And watch them give me answers. Then I'll start asking them questions that I want to about the case. And either about the case or about anything else in life.
Okay.
And just watch what makes him get his anxiety level go up or what keeps him calm, because I want to keep him calm in order to be able to talk to him. And there was at one point where I'm talking to Rich, and he called me Gil, and I called him Rich.
Funny, I was going to say, it's funny how you call him Rich, man.
Yeah, I called him Rich.
Hey,
and
Rich.
I'm talking to him, and I'm talking to him about his sister. And I'm talking about his dad. And I'm asking, your dad molested, I'm telling you, your dad, he molested your sister, didn't he? And while I'm talking to him about this stuff, his hands got tight, and he starts going, he starts almost hyperventilating. His head's turned sideways, and I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, holy Jesus. You know, I've been shot at by good guys. I've been shot at by bad
You
guys.
saw the devil.
I said, I've been stabbed and I've been in fights. But if this motherfucker starts levitating, I'm out of here.
Oh, shit.
I can't fight somebody that's floating around in the fucking room. For a millisecond, he scared me.
Really?
And
A lot of pure evil in that dude.
yeah,
Right?
and then my partner at the same time was banging my leg underneath the desk. Now, I didn't know, did he want me to stop, bring him back down, or keep going? Because I thought I was going to get ready to get him to cop out.
All right, okay.
Everything. Is he telling me keep going because he'll cop, he'll roll? Is he telling me to stop? And if he's telling me to stop and I don't, when I get outside, I'm going to get an earful because he's really the much more experienced than I am.
This is Frank Salerno.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we hadn't talked about this nonverbal communication stuff.
Right.
And so I said, hey, Rich, how about we take a break? You hungry? And he said, yeah. And he came right back down. I said, okay, we'll get you some food. I said, let's take a break. Let me order you up. What do you want, a burger? And we'll order you up some food. We'll get it here. All right, take a break. So we walked out, and Salerno says, why did you quit? You had him. He was going to roll. And I said, man, Frank, I took him up there, and I felt confident enough to, if we go back in, if I need to take him back up, I can take him back up, bring him back. I can do anything I want. I'm feeling good about this right now.
Okay.
And we never did. We went back inside, and it was over. You know, he didn't say much more
He
pertinent
clammed up?
stuff. No, he didn't clam up. He was willing to talk, but there was no reason to take him back up, and the stuff he was saying wasn't doing us that much good anyway.
How did you get this information about his dad and his sister? Like, they're from El Paso, right?
Yeah, it
Did
was
you
just.
go?
We
Yeah,
didn't
how
know
did-
anything. I didn't know anything about his dad or his sister.
Oh, you just
I
made
was
it
just.
up right
I was probing right there,
Oh, you were just making it up? Holy shit.
and there's no doubt in my mind that his dad
That
did
was
it.
a pretty good fucking guess, bro.
Yeah, there
So
was
you
no.
thought, what was your thinking behind that? That somebody that's this fucking lost or insane had to have had insane things happen to them? Is that
Well, I knew that his dad used to. He said his dad used to beat him.
okay?
His dad would beat him with a hose and laugh about it, and he would go sleep in the cemetery. He'd go stay in the cemetery.
Yeah,
I'm sitting there saying, God damn, didn't that
it's
cemetery?
scary.
Fuck, I couldn't do that shit, Rich. And about his sister, because I had asked him, why did he allow Maria Hernandez to live? Because she looked like a spitting image for his sister.
Okay,
I said, was it because she was Mexican or because she looked like your sister? And he said he discounted it saying she was Mexican. And I also know, now I don't want to get negative letters and I don't want to piss the world off, but I also know because I've taught classes down in Mexico. And one of the classes I took down there, another cop from our department that was a child abuse investigator.
okay.
And so she started talking about child abuse over there. And come to find out by the locals that really it's not that uncommon for a father in Mexico to be able to use his daughter.
Wow.
So I knew that going in. I had the knowledge already. So now I'm talking about.
So you just put this together from
Yeah.
what you have heard before.
Yeah.
All right.
And it definitely touched a nerve with him.
Okay. Okay, after that incident, you see him, he's in Hollenbach. Did you ever get another opportunity?
Yeah, we talked to him. He called and wanted to talk to us again. So we went down to visit him.
Where
Right there at
he at
CJ.
now?
He's at CJ.
And now he's in county.
Central Jail, yeah.
Yeah.
And we went down there and we got chastised for it because he had already made his arraignment. And so he had a public defender. And the district attorney's office was pissed off. They thought we were usurping their authority and we should have gone through them and we didn't. And
so he gets a hold of gets a hold of you guys and you guys go down there. So you in Salerno now?
Yeah. So we went down there, we talked to him again, and then one time he called, we had to call the public defender's office. At that time he had a guy named Alan Adashek, who was a court appointed public defender. And so we called Alan. Alan, he's calling for us again. He wants to talk to us. And Rich wanted to give it up.
Okay.
And so we went down there. We waited for Alan. Alan said, okay, let me go talk to him. And Alan stood about a half hour, 45 minutes in there with him. He came back and he says, okay, guys, listen. If he calls you up and wants to talk to you again, just go talk to him. You have my permission. I can't talk him out of this shit. I've talked him out of it today, but no. If he calls you back, go back. So, but he never did call us back.
Oh, I think I know the answer. I think I do. I'm not sure, but was there any remorse with the dude?
Yeah, there was.
There was?
Yeah, he had remorse for two things. He asked us to get a message. He felt sorry about Whitney Bennett, who was a 16-year-old that he left for dead, but she survived. And he felt sorry for her and asked us to tell her he was sorry. Tell her he was sorry. So we did. And he felt bad because when he kidnapped the little girl out of LAPD, her name was Maria Sandoval. And I believe she was 9 or 10 years old. He kidnapped her.
She's interviewed isn't she in the documentary?
No. The one they got was Anastasia Rona. She was only 6 years old at the time. Okay. She's a beautiful, smart little girl, beautiful lady now.
Right, she was in the documentary.
She was in the documentary. And he kidnapped Sandoval, and he was concerned because they had a little puppy, and the puppy got out, and he felt sorry for the little puppy.
That's good. Man, the reality is, man, that there's a lot of crazy fucks running around.
Oh, yeah, there are.
Yeah. And I've told friends of mine that are anti-cop, I tell them, dude, without these guys, without people that care about other people, because what you guys do, it's the toughest gig ever. I mean, it's like adult babysitting, but with darkness. You're really babysitters to the dark force.
You have to have a remorse, sense of humor.
Oh, you guys have the best. And one thing about you guys, all cops, man, darkest, warpest sense of humor that, and I'm glad it doesn't get out because I think a lot of it stays in-house because it keeps you guys, I believe that the reason you guys have that sense of humor because it keeps you guys level.
It's a defense mechanism. Yeah. So if not, we'd go crazy. You got to have a morose sense of humor and you have good friends, good partners, and you got to have support.
How long after that, the Richard, once you guys got him, he's put away, all that, how many years did you stay on the force after that?
We convicted him in 1989, and I left the department in 2009.
All right, so you stood there
Sure.
a long time, man.
Gill's my name, death was my game.
Well, I'm glad you're alive, brother, and I'm glad you're around to share that story because this is gonna be like this story is gonna be around forever, man. Long after we're all gone, it's like that story from who's the guy from England, man? That the killer, Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. We even asked Richard Ramirez up in San Francisco. He had carved Jack the Knife on a door. And I asked Richard, I said, hey, what does Jack the Knife mean? I said, Rich, what's Jack the Knife? He said, just another name for Jack the Ripper.
So he was vibing that.
He read and studied serial killers. He called my partner Mr. Salerno out of respect because he knew that Salerno had worked on the Hillside Strangler.
Right.
He got all jazzed because we put him in the same cell as Angelo Bono.
He felt like a celebrity.
Yeah. And so he thought it was good, but he still just, I told him one time, I said, hey, Mr. Salerno and Gill? I said, what'd you think? He was 7 foot tall and hovered,
Right.
I said, Rich, he puts his pants on just like you and I, one leg at a time. Yeah, but that's Mr. Salerno, Gill.
He did his homework.
He knew all about, he used to write with Ted Bundy. They used to exchange mail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if I'd have had any intestinal fortitude, as you'd say, huevos,
Right.
when they electrocuted Ted Bundy, I wanted to send a telegram to Richard and just said, see you in hell, and sign it Ted.
Ted.
Yeah, but I was afraid I'd get in trouble. He didn't get caught, so I didn't do it.
When did Richard he die? When did
he died June 9th, 2013.
I mean, because you were so close to that case, did someone get a hold of you?
I was at my grandson's junior high school graduation. My daughter, who is his mother, as a social media buff, she hits me. She says, Dad, Richard just died in prison. I said, I really don't care, sweetheart. I'm here to see my grandson. Don't bother me with that shit. All right. And about 40 minutes later, and I turned my phone on, I had at least 40 messages on there, people killing me. And when I got home, I had Channel 7, Channel 5, Channel 9, all at my house waiting for interviews.
Get your response on
Yeah.
it. What did he die of?
He had cancer.
Oh.
He had cancer, cirrhosis. They said, the guys tell me he was looking, looked green almost, because he didn't want any medication. He wouldn't do anything to fight it.
Well, man, like I said again, man, I'm so glad there's just people like you, brother. I'm and the buddies that I have, because police officers, man, and I believe because of the media, they get such a bad rap. And I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, but I do know that the left fucks with cops a lot, and to me, they as easily as they put bad stories, they could put some great stories. Because you guys do something great every day, but they're waiting for something bad to happen, and it's on everything. But
the news media runs it, and the realities are there's some bad cops out there.
There is, and I always say fuck those guys,
and I wouldn't defend them.
Yeah.
And when a cop screws up, it reflects on all of us.
Yeah.
When I came back from Vietnam, you couldn't talk about Vietnam because, they thought that we were killers, torture baby killers, and everything. So you kept it a secret. A lot of protesting going on. So now I'm to the point when I came on, the department, it was all right. It was cool to be a cop.
Right.
There wasn't all these problems.
You don't think it's the same
now
anymore?
It's not anymore because now they're down on them and you can't say it. So when the news gets a bad cop, they blow it up and it gets so much play, but they don't care about the good cops, so you don't hear about it. And cops in general, the realities are 90% of the people in the county of Los Angeles are good, law-abiding citizens.
Right.
10% are bad and evil.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that 90% of the time the cops have to spend is on the 10% that are bad and not the good people. And that's where we're having problems right now.
So if you're one of your relatives, one of your nephews or, wanted to be a police officer, would you try to talk him out of it? Or
I did. My grandson.
What?
Yeah, my grandson wanted to become a deputy.
And you said no?
And I said, son, why don't you become a fireman? Everybody loves a fireman. Nobody loves a deputy. And he said, his dad's a deputy.
Okay.
He said, my dad's a deputy. He said, but I want to be like you, Papa. Everybody, everywhere you go, people.
Everyone knows you.
And he said, I want to be like you. And I said, okay, son, you do this, you do it on your own. Papa won't help you. You got to get on your own. You got to do this on your own. And it's a tough road to hoe. Well, as far as he went along, and the guy's never, I don't even know if he's ever had a ticket. He's been a good kid. He just finally came up to me one time. He says, Pop, I've changed my mind. He says, I talked to my dad. I don't want to do this after all. And it was just all everything he could see.
Yeah.
Which he says, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to hurt your feelings or anything. I said, son, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm glad you recognize it. It's better you recognize it now. Cop work isn't for everybody, and if it's not for you, God bless you. You know, I'm glad you recognize it. So he changed his mind. There was just too much negativity going on.
Yeah, well, I really, for me, I mean, from a civilians, it's the media who puts a bad light on, and it's like the guy. Okay, Gil, I had a guy here a couple of weeks ago. Good guy. He's an advocate. He fights for the vendors. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a guy that goes out there and harasses the people that harass the vendors.
Sure.
So he's a good guy, but he's also, I believe, he is anti-cop. And he's like, man, they gotta get rid of everybody, and kind of an extremist in his point of view for me, because I'm sure there's people that believe what he believes. But I say, okay, so you gotta get rid of less cops? He goes, yeah, less cops. Like how many? Like, I mean, he's ridiculous numbers, right? So I said, there's bad cops, man. Get rid of the bad cops. That's the only thing that I see. There's a bad plumber. You don't say, let's get rid of all the plumbers. We don't need any more plumbers anymore. You know, that's how I see it. Get rid of that one bad plumber. Get rid of them. Don't ever let them work. And that's how I see it with police officers, man. But, that being said, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, there was, last year, there was a black activist, anti-cop.
Okay.
And he protested every chance he got. He was on news media, and then his son got killed.
Okay.
And now they said, now what are you going to do? Are you going to badmouth the cops? And he said, no, now we're going to let them do their job. And never heard from the man since. Well, never heard. And that's just
no. This is a common theme right now, because a lot of the cities that were pro defund are now asking for help from like the National Guard.
Yeah,
they're like, we're sorry.
West Hollywood just cut 4 deputies from their city, and they did that probably about 6 months ago. They have now just reinstated. They've hired back their 4 cops.
Okay.
City schools, LA city schools. Yeah. They took all cops off their campuses. Yeah. They're now getting ready to put them back in.
Yeah.
And they don't realize, and everybody, they can do whatever they want, but when you got a problem, you call a cop.
Yeah.
And too bad that there's bad ones out there, but I just thank God for the good ones.
Yeah. No, man, I have the same sentiments, bro. I appreciate you. I'm so glad you took the time, out of your day, because I know you're a busy cat. You're here with me, and I appreciate you, man. So, for me, my crew here, we appreciate you, and then hearing this story, from you, man, because I really wanted to get it from the horse's mouth, man. So thank you, man. This has been exciting for me to have Gil Carillo here for the Willie Barcena's drop-in. Gil, anything you want to say before we?
I just say thank you. I'm glad I got to see your kid again.
That's my boy. That's my middle kid.
And I'm really glad to see that you, like myself, have not given up on the Dodgers. You're still wearing an LA hat,
bro.
Brother, hey.
It's heartbreaking, man.
It's heartbreaking, but I'm not giving up on them, God bless. I've been a Dodger fan since I was a kid, and I'm still there with them. Yeah. And I'm glad you're still sporting the hat. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Willie.
No, man. Thank you, brother. Guys, Fabian, you want to say anything? You guys want to say anything?
No, thank you.
Oh, you guys are the bomb.
Man, thank you, brother, man. Well, we'll see you guys soon. We have lots more guests coming up, and this was our 3rd, 4th, 5th episode, right? I don't forget what it is. Yeah. But anyways, man, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you, man. Mad love.